Defenders of Justice. This is internet personality Vangelus, and Legacy Evolution's opening wave had a pair of particularly bangin' Voyagers, and this is one of them. It's Tarn from Comic Book. Getting an official transforming Transformer of Tarn felt like a pipe dream throughout the 2010s, so it was a real moment to see this guy as one of the heralds of the second chapter of Legacy.
This video was sponsored in part by ToyHacks.com. Use the code LOSVANGELUS through the month of March 2024 for 15% off your order of labels and other paraphernalia. Using the code supports the channel. Supporting the channel feeds the machine.
Tarn's design is intense, and this Legacy Evolution version captures a lot of the shapes while staying within a frame of toyetically slimmed confines with regards to his silhouette. I wouldn't call it, critically comics inaccurate, but there's a definite slender Tarn factor, especially compared to his first ever official action figure appearance back in the early days of the Kuro Karakuri line. This is a leggy boy with wide shoulders, but he rides those particular proportions with a stylish panache. He has such a natural curve and comfort to his basic stance. Line art experts can delve into this deeper, but Legacy Tarn hits a lot of the visual keynotes necessary in his sculpt with solid pantones in a solid layout to pop the right parts, like his golden kneecaps, translucent inner nipples, and silver dual-synchronized outer frame box nipples. Hitting Tarn's masked head sculpt is the make-or-break moment on this piece, and I think they nailed it. The mask doesn't come off, but it has those shapes without looking too mushy or softened. It even has some light piping, though I wish the entire back of the head was part of the absorption window. It's just a slot on the top, and I have trouble getting it to really blaze up with violet glow. Tarn's asymmetric double fusion cannon is fully represented on this figure, and is also the core of his EVO Fusion gimmick pattern. It's got a 5mm connection to his forearm, but you can rotate its lower base plate to connect as a backpack with over-the-shoulder firing capabilities, or you can leave the lower base plate in its forearm configuration to simply snug it in as a vanity cannon backpack. But more importantly, you can break it down into 3 pieces using the compatible pegs, ports, and secret barrel ports to make the EVO Fusion Dai Hisatsu Long Tarn Buster! Or, hold the barrels as guns, I don't know. I also just this week learned from Yonder Transformers wiki that his wee little back cannons can also come off in a 5mm kind of way, but it may be undocumented due to the material tightnesses and fragilities. These are painted clear plastic, and they don't feel like they're supposed to do this, so be careful. Tarn's ball socket neck just makes me happy. Look at all these things it can do. Look at all these emotions. Look at all of these waves and circles and geometries. The shoulders are visibly weird, but they work, pretty much. When you do this, okay, this is probably a point of contention. There's this hinge, and then for adjustments, there's this little hinge down here. If you go for a T-pose, yes, he looks weird. But if you're going for anything else, up to, a normal, dynamic, brooding, menacing leader range, I think it's fine. It is armpitless. Would the hinge have worked better here rather than here? Most probably. I suspect this is a structural and/or transformation/budget thingamadoo. I haven't really theory crafted that much. I was too busy noticing the bicep swivel and the elbow hinge with the slightly above 90, the wrist swivel with a pinned knuckle joint that actually looks pretty good when it's opened and closed. That's very rare on any single pinned knuckle thing on a 5mm fist trying to open. Tarn's pointy fingers I think are helping a lot, but it looks natural in both positions. That's huge for me. It's also the waist joint, pretty huge for me too. I like those. I'm a big fan also of the suck-in skirt forward and backwards leg motion for just full kick, full split like this. But can you do full split like this? Oh, not quite. But you get enough. You only run into problems if you are actively trying to do full split, and, listen, we're a very specific fetish to cater to. I just figured it out. You sit and then you do it. It's possible. That nonsense out of the way, there's also a thigh swivel. There's also a thick knee bend that only goes that far. Just past 90, there is no double hinge for robot articulation. But on the ankles, we've got fairly decent non-disconnective sideways tilt, and then a really useful forward-backward tilt on a big foot. It's great for articulation and posing. My main problem with this guy is actually the friction / pinned nature of some of his joints. Easiest example being that this arm, especially with the cannon on it, sometimes has little arcs of ragdollness between arcs of solidity. It don't feel great. I need to get in there with some stuff eventually. But otherwise, if all the joints work perfectly, I think Tarn, on a Voyager level, turned out pretty well. Opening statement. You have to remove Tarn's double fusion cannon to proceed. Anyway, the big question on everyone's mind with an actual transforming converter's toy of Tarn, that is to say, an actual converting Transformers toy of Tarn, was how it would handle the riddle of his shoulder treads. Tarn was thankfully designed with a fairly obvious rearrangement of parts between his two modes, and the toy makes a series of solid decisions to fill in the narrative gaps. My main issue with the transformation scheme is that you have to start the arms and start the legs, but you can't finish either without starting the other. The legs have to be half transformed to make room for the forearms to tab onto the thighs, and the forearms have to be tabbed onto the thighs in order for their own lock spots to be ready to receive the slots on the legs once they finish folding in on themselves. It's not the end of the world, but I'm always in a happier place when I can start and finish an entire sector on a transforming robot before moving on to the next. Oh, and the double fusion cannon needs the legs to be transformed in order to plug onto the tank mode. Kanzen Henkei is not possible. Tarn's tank mode is Cybertronian and comes with all the usual caveats therein. Is it a tread plank with some gun planks stuck on top? Yes, if you want to get reductive about it. Do you also drink unflavored hot water for fun? I'm generally pleased with the alien shapes that Tarn assumes for modal mobility and violence. There's a neat slope to the silhouette of this mode, and the only major weakness to me is that his robot hands are just kinda there in the back. You can rotate them to camouflage via the knuckle plate, but that means either the top view or the side view will be fingerful. That said, this doesn't really bother me enough to impact my sleeping patterns given how much this mode is not a disguise. There are also enough available ports to do some EVO Fusion play pattern, even keeping things contained to the tri-component fusion cannon turret as I'm doing in this demonstrative B-roll footage. I think the opening pair of Legacy Evolution Voyagers were both bangers, and Tarn had the biggest hill to climb to achieve that. Like, my expectation for Lyo convoys is just low these days. However, much as his soul sibling G-Axis did, Tarn nails the basic Transformers trifecta of two modes I enjoy with a process I like to do as the journey back and forth between them. Also, much like G-Axis, Tarn is good at evoking emotion and curvature in his bot mode posing. I do wish the shoulders had slightly rearranged joint placements, and I certainly wish things were a bit tighter overall in there, but nothing hand-feel-wise has been outright off-putting to me. Tarn has apparently become scarce since 2023, and I do think I'd be less into him if I'd paid a massive aftermarket premium, so try to avoid that. Rumor has it he's due for a packaging refresh at the tail end of Legacy United. By the way, I am 100% into this headcanon of mine that G-Axis and Tarn both think they're the leader of the Legacy Decepticons. Two massively dangerous himbos, each absolutely and smugly certain that he alone has outsmarted the other. Two catastrophic bottoms that each think they are themselves the secret top. Anyway, this has been Internet Personality Vangelus, and it's thanks to all my Patreon patrons and YouTube membership members that our collective justice division can ethically and benevolently tie people into metal chairs and poke them with things to make them better citizens. A little left field to bring up at the end of a toy review, I know, but, well, I guess it's time to reveal that you have an appointment with us. Yes, just you. Did you like this personalized video? Great. Now, if you could just go get your shoes on, because we'll be at your door in just a few minutes.